Hey there, I'm the MadCatster, and am I glad to see you here? Well, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp may have the week off for their trial, but I'm not so lucky. So I thought this would be a good time to talk about where we are and how we got here. So let's get into it. So Sybil the Enforcer is here. Look at her. She what Sybil? Yes, I'm going to tell them. She wants me to let you know that she's not sleeping tonight and that she's watching all of you and she knows who's not subscribed. And Sybil says, subscribe and like, please. It's very helpful to the channel and it makes Sybil happy and that makes me happy. So we're not going to talk about the Ace family tonight. Their tickets did go back on sale for the sold out event. And I will give you sort of an update on what's going on there in another video that I'll post either tonight or tomorrow. But anyways, the fundraiser for me to go out there is almost getting towards goal. We still have just a little bit further to go. So if you want to help out, the link is down below. So let's get into talking about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. So this trial is about defamation. And I think I explained in my video about Cardi B that usually when it's spoken defamatory statements, it's called defamation. And when it's written, published statements, it's called libel. In this case, we are dealing with a written published statement. But in Virginia, they don't make a distinction between libel and defamation. So it's all called defamation. Just so you understand, so nobody gets confused, why it's called defamation, even though it's printed article that we're talking about. So anyways, so back in 2016, when Johnny Depp and Amber Heard got divorced, Amber Heard had filed for a restraining order. It's public information, and I'm going to put it up here for you to look at. I'm going to redact out the no-no words, but she had made allegations against Johnny Depp. And so you're going to see now, when I put up her editorial in the Washington Post from 2018, you're going to see that she mentions 2 years ago, and I've highlighted that section. You'll see it in 1 second. That's what she's referring to. That's kind of when she sort of made it public about what she was alleging was going on. Here I'm going to put up the editorial so you can see she talks about the. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You guys can take a look at it if you want. I will put a link to it down below. But 2 years ago, she says, you can look at this yellow section. Then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing DA. And I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. Friends and advisors told me I would never again work as an actress, that I would be blacklisted. So what she's talking about is the fact that she brought up those allegations during their divorce. That's the 2 years ago is what she's talking about. So this is the thing. I'm going to show you what in Virginia, what defamation, what you have to prove. But basically, she doesn't mention him by name here, and I know people are probably saying, well, it doesn't say Johnny Depp anywhere, and she's not making any direct accusations, but there's an inference here, and I'm going to show you now what you need to prove for defamation in Virginia. So I'm putting up the first slide here, and it says elements of defamation. Defamation occurs upon the publication of an actionable statement of or concerning the plaintiff with the requisite intent. And in this case, actionable simply means that the statement must be both false and defamatory, and that in order to successfully prevail on a defamation claim, the plaintiff must prove all of these elements. So they've got to prove that it was false and that it was defamatory. The statement must be published. I'm putting up this slide here. Publication just means that the statement was viewed or heard by a person aside from either the plaintiff or the defendant, so a third party. Okay? And what I was explaining to you before is what's written here, that in many jurisdictions, defamation actions are known as libel if the statement is written, and slander if the statement is oral. However, in Virginia, there is no distinction between libel and slander. The statement must be false. So you look on this slide here, it says an actionable statement must be both false and defamatory, and it's the plaintiff's burden to prove by a preponderance of the evidence that a statement is false. So, oh, Squeaky's here. Say hi, Squeaky. So what they mean by preponderance of the evidence, it doesn't have to be beyond a reasonable doubt like it is in a criminal trial. In this particular instance, in a civil case like this, you just have to sort of have the majority of the evidence weigh in favor of the plaintiff for judgment to go to the plaintiff. So it doesn't have to be beyond a reasonable doubt. Then naturally, the statement must be defamatory. A statement is not actionable just because it's false. It must also be defamatory, meaning it harms the plaintiff or the plaintiff's reputation. However, some categories of statements are presumed defamatory, which means you don't have to show that they actually injured you. The statement itself is in a category that's so egregious that it's just automatically assumed that it did the person and that it's defamatory. And one of those is statements which impute to a person the commission of some criminal offense involving moral turpitude. So in other words, something like this where she's alleging SA and DA, that's alleging criminal actions against Johnny Depp that involve moral turpitude, okay? So if Johnny Depp proves his case, then it'll be presumed that the statements that she made about the SA and DA are actually defamatory because they involve criminal action that involves moral turpitude. So also, as we had mentioned, one of the elements is the statement must be, and I'll put this slide up, the statement must be of or concerning the plaintiff. A statement that is both false and defamatory is actionable only if the statement is of or concerning the plaintiff. That doesn't mean, and this is what's important, guys, so listen. This does not mean that the published statement must refer to the plaintiff by name. Okay, so that's key here. The plaintiff satisfies this element by showing that the publication was intended to refer to the plaintiff and would be so understood by persons reading or hearing it who knew the plaintiff. So this is where it now comes into focus of why this case is proceeded. Because everybody who knows Johnny Depp and was familiar with their relationship, when they read that editorial and it referred to the 2 years ago, which is when all that stuff came up in the divorce proceedings, that she is clearly talking about Johnny Depp and her relationship with Johnny Depp. So even though she was careful not to name him by name, in Virginia, all that has to happen is that people will infer that what she said refers to Johnny Depp. And in this case, it's clear that what he's alleging, how he was treated by the industry and by people after she published this, and the allegations that she had made during the divorce, that she was clearly referring to him. And he's alleged that it's hurt his career, that he lost movie deals, that he's kind of been blacklisted because everybody assumed that what Amber Heard said was true. Okay, so let's move on. When you consider legal liability, a person's state of mind counts, and what that means, and I'll put up the slide here, that in addition to a bad act, there has to have been a bad intent or state of mind, and defamation is no different. The publisher, meaning Amber Heard in this case, must have known that the statement was false or acted recklessly or negligently in failing to determine the falsity of the statement. Well, in this case, Johnny Depp is saying, I didn't do any of these things. The things that she's alleged are complete fiction, and in fact, it was her who was doing things to me, and I'm actually the one who was receiving the DA. So, if that's true and he proves his case, that means that Amber Heard had to have known when she published that editorial that what she was saying was not true. So now let's take a look at the credibility of the two of them, and I'm not going to go into depth because there's so much coverage of all of the testimony out there, and I've watched a lot of it, but some things have struck me. I'm going to play a clip of Johnny Depp just so you can sort of compare his demeanor and his body language, etc., and then we're going to look at Amber Heard. But I've edited Johnny Depp's clip because, as a lot of you probably know, when he's been testifying, he's very sort of slow and deliberate, and it takes him forever to get his thought or statements out. So I've edited out the pauses so that you can just sort of get the meat of what he's saying. So watch this clip here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Depp.
Good afternoon.
Can you please tell the jury why you're here today?
Yes. About 6 years ago, Miss Heard made some quite heinous and brought these disturbing criminal against me that were not based in any species of truth. It was a complete shock that it just didn't need to go in that direction, as nothing of the kind had ever happened. Though the relationship, there were arguments and things of that nature, but never did I myself reach the point of misheard in any way, nor have I ever any woman. in my life. News of this, her accusations had sort of permeated the industry and then made its way through media and social media, became quite a global, let's say, quote unquote, fact, if you will. And since I knew that there was no truth to it whatsoever, I felt it my responsibility to stand up not only for myself in that instance, but stand up for my children. It kept multiplying. It just kept getting bigger and bigger. So it was my responsibility, I felt, to not only attempt to clear my name for the sake of, well, for many reasons, but I wanted to clear my children of this horrid thing that they were having to read about their father which was untrue. And so I had to wait for my opportunity to address the charges, which were criminal charges, and they just weren't true. So I felt the responsibility of clearing the record as the only way that I could get to the point where I could speak has really taken this full 6 years. And it's been 6 years of trying times. It's very strange when one day you're Cinderella, so to speak, and then in 0.6 seconds you're Quasimodo.
So when I watched Johnny Depp, and I don't know how many of you have seen much of the coverage, but I really got the feeling, just from my own personal sense, that he was very credible as a witness. I got a feeling that the things that he was saying and the incidents that he was recalling were, in fact, truthful, in my opinion. Not, I'm not the jury, you're not the jury, but in my opinion, watching him, that's how I felt. I felt that he came across to me as a very credible witness. He didn't seem to be fabricating anything, and again, this is just my opinion. Who knows? He could be the best liar in the world for all I know. But I just thought, in terms of my experience of observing trials and witness testimony, I thought he was very credible. Okay, so now I'm going to show you Amber Heard in one particular section of her testimony. It's not very long, so I'm not going to bore you with a big long clip. But watch. There's one instance in particular I want you to take note of. Now, in this clip, she, for most of it, is supposed to be crying. And I use air quotes because I've observed several times during this trial when she was crying, and although she wipes her nose and she a lot, I don't see a single tear come from her eye. And the reason why I'm saying that is, and I want to point this out to you, when you watch this clip in a second, note there's a point where she goes up, like she's used a tissue on her nose and pretending like, she's got runny nose from crying, but she goes up and it looks like she's about to wipe her eye. And then she hesitates for just a second, and then she goes up and she just sort of does this to her hair and puts her hand down. I am willing to bet you that she was intending to wipe her eye, but didn't want to smudge her makeup. So she thought better of it and went on to just brush her hairline. Well, if she was really crying, first of all, you would have seen the tears. But anybody would have taken a tissue and daubed their eyes, and at no time do I notice that she's actually got any tears at all. So you take a look and tell me what you think. Okay, here's the clip.
New York to fight for the relationship, for me, to prove that he was sober and he was committed to changing. I believed he was embarrassed and sorry. He said he was, and I believed him. So I took him back, or I got back with him on the condition that he would uphold his promise to do the treatment, clean up, and never go back.
So did you see that, what I was talking about? I thought that was very telling, and that's why I picked this particular clip of her. So if you watch her body language, she's always like fidgeting, and she's kind of like looking at the jury, and she's doing this whole crying routine where she's like, and she's touching her thing, but there's no tears. And it's just like, she just, and then when she's describing things, it's like, and I hate to be cynical, but it's like she's making this stuff up in her head as she's telling it. You can see like the wheels turning in her head as she's like looking around, and she's sort of like taking her time in some instances where she's like trying to like think of the thoughts she wants to get out there. And Mary's here. Mary's running around like a nut job. I got the feeling in all of the testimony of her that I've watched that she just doesn't seem sincere. And like for somebody recounting all of these traumatic moments and times in their relationship, you would expect probably somebody would really get upset and really, especially if you're saying that someone did these things to you. I would think that, I'm not saying that everybody's the same, of course not, but I would think that it would be very traumatic. Recalling all this in public in front of cameras and in front of a jury and putting all of this dirty laundry out there in public, and the fact that these things happen to you, I would think that reliving them through this testimony, you would be more visibly upset than she is. So tell me what you think in the comments. I just don't feel that she's very sincere, and I really suspect that he may win this case because of that difference in the testimony, and I'm sure the jury's picking up on it too. So again, tell me down in the comments, what do you think? What do you think's going to happen? Sybil says she thinks Johnny Depp's going to win, but I told her we can't take any sides yet. The testimony's not done. Sybil, I told you. But anyways, so tell me in the comments, what do you think? Like, subscribe. Sybil's going to put your name on her naughty list if you don't subscribe. And hopefully you guys are having a great week, and I will see you in the next one.
Pretty please. Subscribe, like, and hit the bell. I get a treat for every new sub. Thank you.